Moving on to the Olympics. No dice for Obama. It didn't work. Chicago was eliminated from the Final Four in the first round for the 2016 Summer Olympics. And it is the Summer Olympics, right?
I believe so.
And after it came down to Spain and Brazil, Brazil was awarded the games, which will be the first in South America. An unbelievable accomplishment for Brazil, a pretty big letdown for Chicago. And among the talk about how bad it was for Barack Obama to go to Copenhagen to lobby, I don't think it was a particularly great idea, but it's done by many countries. A lot of the criticism acted as if it's crazy for a president to go and lobby for the Olympics when even the leaders of some of these other countries that were in the Final Four were doing the exact same thing. And so I don't think by any means it's outside of the bounds of what I would consider normal. It's also being talked about now how Barack Obama lost it for the U.S. and that, by the way, the Republicans have never done such a thing. This is clearly rebuking of Barack Obama. It turns out, actually, if you do minimal research, if you just type into Google or your favorite search engine, whatever it is, 2002 Olympics, Mitt Romney, you'll come up with some pretty embarrassing stuff. And let me give you the quick version of this because we don't want to spend the entire show on this. People have forgotten about the scandal that tainted the 2002 Salt Lake City Olympics. And remember, what do Salt Lake City and Mitt Romney have in common, Lewis?
Mormons?
Mormons, that's exactly right. Eventually led by Mitt Romney and his friends, the '02 Games were plagued by fundraising problems, bribery scandals, and the committee was heavily infiltrated by none other than Glenn Beck's Mormon church. The last thing I would want to hear about the Olympics is that Glenn Beck's Mormon church is in any way involved, in absolutely any way involved. Two people from the organizing committee in Salt Lake City funneled $1 million in gifts to the International Olympic Committee delegates. It included cash, college tuition, health care payments, Indian rugs, dogs, clothes, everything. 10 members of the International Olympic Committee ended up resigning as a result. So then they bring in Mitt Romney. He lobbies the IOC to drop opposition to the U.S. team carrying in a tattered U.S. flag from Ground Zero, presumably support of 9/11. Then he angers safety officials by refusing to give free or discounted tickets to widows and orphans of 9/11 victims. This is Mitt Romney, with his office saying, hey, there's a policy, we just can't give tickets away. It's a policy. 6 weeks later, they have tons of unsold seats. They end up giving them away to Utah legislators. Incredibly outrageous hypocrisy. But wait, Barack Obama flew to Copenhagen, like all the other leaders, to lobby for his own country. Pales in comparison, in my opinion. Completely pales in comparison.
Right? People will do anything to criticize, we talk about this all the time. They'll do any opportunity they get to criticize the president. So, okay, the president goes to Copenhagen for a day or two to lobby for something that would, boost the economy.
And they still have phones on Air Force One, right? It's not like he can't do anything else.
I'm sure it's possible to reach the president somehow when he's in, Northern Europe.
Sure. Well, you're absolutely right. And it's almost gone too far in the sense that at a recent conservative conference, the entire conference cheered Chicago being out. When they announced at this conference that Chicago has been eliminated, it's unbelievable applause. And I thought the Olympics were a patriotic event. I thought the conservatives were the ones who loved it. Every time Americans get a chance to wave their flag around in front of other countries, be good at sports, win medals, have the anthem played, I can't imagine anything more conservative and patriotic than that. What's the difference? Well, they don't like that a liberal guy like Barack Obama was lobbying. That's right. The only thing I can think of.
But I'm not going to lie, it's no surprise to me that, Chicago was bumped out in the first round either.
In what sense?
Well, we've had the Olympics here before, and, it doesn't surprise me that, they'd be giving the opportunity to a country that has never had the opportunity. Sure.
There's many reasons why Chicago would have been a great option and why Rio is a better option or any of the others would have been. But the fact that so many conservatives are glad, they're thrilled that Obama didn't get the Olympics. Are the Olympics themselves just liberal propaganda now that Barack Obama wants them in the U.S.? Maybe it's too liberal that at the Olympics other countries are recognized too. Maybe the conservatives don't like that. And presumably there's some sports where the U.S. might not win, right? Maybe that's what they don't like. I really don't get it. But I was under the impression that the Olympics were very patriotic. The U.S. always does very well, certainly in the top handful of countries every single time. the only reason I can think of that conservatives would be glad that the U.S. lost out on these Olympics is that a liberal guy was lobbying for them. That's the only thing.
I guess.
Well, let's talk just a little bit about what Bill Kristol said, and this is a more economic argument about the Olympics. Here's what he had to say, the editor of the Weekly Standard.
We don't need the Olympics. We've had them a million times. Our economy doesn't need the boost of the Olympics. And then an American president, in a sort of George W. Bush-like way, goes and tries to bully the International Olympic Committee. He did try to bully them. Come walk with us. I'm here for America. Can you imagine if some Republican, if Bush had done this and we hadn't gotten it? Typical Bush heavy-handedness, cowboy, unilateralist, hegemonic, imperialist action. Obama falls into that trap, and they run for it. So I must say, you couldn't help but be amused by it.
So we don't need the Olympics. You know, I thought the economy really did need the Olympics. Haven't we been in the United States in what's being called a depression, a recession, a financial crisis? What about bringing in billions of dollars in travel, tourism, people that if they liked Chicago, they'd probably come back and try another U.S. vacation? What about that does the U.S. not need at this point? I can't think of anything.
No, I think it'd be great.
There's no question of the economic benefits. Why do countries want to have this? It's sure there's some element of pride, but it's an economic thing. This brings in so many people, so many billions of dollars, TV contracts, hotels, local restaurants. It literally boosts the local economy in a way that would be difficult to do in any other circumstance.
I can't think of any other situation in which it would get a boost like that. Absolutely
not. So the hypocrisy over the Olympics is 100% partisan. It's embarrassing.